Hi, Ken.
Hi. I'm doing this hard problem right here. So you're supposed to find the maximum value of the function y equals absolute value of x cubed minus 2a squared x, only where a is greater than 0. On the interval 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 1. Well, first, to draw the graph easier, just find the roots. So first step for finding the roots is, the roots are always on the x-axis. So set the y equals 0. So then it becomes x times x squared minus 3a squared. Well, on the other problems, or like really early, we did, you know that you can split this in half, like, so you can do x minus square root of 3a, because what multiplies to 3? Well, you need to do square root of 3 times square root of 3. So it's x times x minus square root of 3a times x plus square root of 3a. So now the roots are roots are 0 and square root of 3a and negative square root of 3a. So now you can draw the graph correctly. I'm just going to draw it like this. Well, it's not a normal cubic function because the roots. So the roots are at 0, and maybe negative square root of 3a is right there. Positive square root of 3a is maybe right there. So, well, it goes like this. It's not a normal cubic function because it has an absolute value, plus because it has the roots. So it hits the x-axis at 3 points because it has 3 roots. So now, well, we really don't need to do this because a is always greater than 0, this side. We only need to really do this. So they told you to find the maximum value. Well, you don't know where 1 is, so you'll have to split the problem between here. Well, you have to split it in between here, because if 1 is, or the right side of the domain is to left of this, then it's some max. But if it's to the right of this, it's not the same max anymore. So that's why you have to split it right here. Well, you want to find the x value of this point. So, well, we know that this is the relative max. So you know that relative maxes have always slope 0. So slope 0, that means that you take the derivative and set it equal to 0. Well, there's an absolute value here. So how are you going to take the derivative of the absolute value? Well, what the graph should look like is this. Like this. Well, let's see if it's the same. Well, we really don't need the absolute value because they both have slope 0. So just drop the absolute value. You really don't need it. So x cubed minus 3a squared x. Take the derivative, set it equals 0. 3x squared minus 3a squared equals 0. Well, that's pretty easy to factor. It's just like this one. So we want to take out 3, at least. 3 times x plus a times x minus a equals 0. So x equals, maybe I should erase some of this. So x equals negative a. Well, we really don't need the negative a because the negative a is right here. So we don't need that because a is always greater than 0, so we don't need this part or the left side. So it's just a. A is the x value. So, well, f of a is the y value. So let's do f of a. Well, how are we going to plug this in with an absolute value? Let's check. So let's see if it's still positive. Well, no, it's not. It's negative. So we need to times this by a negative. So times it by a negative, and you can drop the absolute value because it's times by a negative. That's my sister right there. So times by a negative, 3a squared x minus x cubed. Okay, so now we drop the absolute value. So now we can plug in a to the x. Y equals. So now a, plug it in, 3a cubed minus a cubed. 3a cubed minus a cubed is 2a cubed. So 2a cubed, y equals 2a cubed. Or let me try. Yeah, y equals 2a cubed. So this. That's 2a cubed. So now we know what the max is between 0 and a only. So max equals, I'm just going to write it down there. Max equals, well, what's the max when it's in between here and here? Well, it's in between 0 and 1. So, well, it's f of 1. It can't be this because it's only between 0 and maybe 1 is like here, all the way over there. So it's f of 1. So f of 1, plug it in. We have an absolute value there again. So let me check. Well, it's negative, so we have to times by a negative. So times by a negative, 3a squared x minus x cubed. Plug in 1. Then it becomes 3a squared. 3a squared. 3a squared minus 1. So max equals 3a squared minus 1. Only when, let's write that as like a when symbol, when 1 is in between 0 and a. So when 0 is less than 1, well, we really don't need to write the 0 because 1 is always greater than 0. So a So we've only done it when that. So now we have to find it when it's in between A and, what's this point? Well, it has the same y value as 2a cubed. So we have to find out the x value of this. What's the x value? Well, they have the same y values, so just set the y value equal to 2a cubed. So, okay, so 2a cubed.
Mm-hmm.
Stop the video.
That's okay. You're doing great.
I just really don't know, because we don't know where this point is. We only know the y value is 2a cubed.
Right.
So I don't know how you do this, because 2a cubed is the y value of this point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we have to set these 2 points equal to each other because they have the same y value?
Well, you got to think about it. You know, what are you trying to find?
The max between a and whatever the x value of this point is.
So you're trying to find the x value?
Yeah.
Okay. And what do you know about that point other than the x?
Oh, you plug it in here. So just plug in 2a cubed into here
Very
for
good.
y.
That's right.
Well, let me check, because we have an absolute value there. So this point, negative, well, it's still positive. So we can just times this by a negative and drop the absolute value, which is just like doing nothing. So 2a cubed, y, so an x cubed minus 3a squared, x equals 2a cubed. Let's write it down. X cubed minus 3a squared, x equals and then just transpose the 2a cubed to the other side. Well, we don't know how to factor that, so we have to do the factor theorem. It's pretty hard. And then last step, well, after we do the factor theorem and find this point, we find the max when it's in between a and whatever this point is. And then next step is just get the max when it's here and beyond. So what multiplies? So what factor makes this whole thing 0 equals 0? Well, let's try negative a. Negative a cubed and 3a cubed. Well, it's a negative times negative. So 3a cubed, a cubed plus 3a cubed is 2a cubed. 2a cubed minus 2a cubed, so it works. So it's negative a. X, maybe we should write this. X plus a and x cubed minus 3a squared x minus 2a cubed. Okay. So now x cubed, x is x squared, so right on top. X squared, x cubed, x squared times a is ax squared. So plus This is hurting my hand from writing so much. So ax squared negative ax squared well, these cross out. Negative ax squared minus 3a squared x minus 2a cubed. So now find the biggest x, which is negative ax squared negative ax. Negative ax squared. Negative ax squared. So negative ax times a is negative a squared x. Negative a squared x. So now minus them, then it becomes negative 2a squared x. Negative 2a squared x minus 2a cubed. 2a squared x minus 2a cubed. Find the biggest x. Negative 2a squared x divided by this. Negative 2a squared. Negative 2a squared x. Negative 2a squared x. Well, these cross out. And then negative 2a squared times a is negative 2a cubed. Negative 2a cubed. Then it's 0. Okay. So this is what we've got. X squared minus ax minus 2a cubed. That was the equation that you can, what was I doing? I forgot even why I was doing this. Oh yeah, to find this point, So now, you plug in these. Oh, now we find the x values. I'll just write it down. X squared minus ax minus 2a squared equals 0. And now we can factor that pretty easy. It's a pretty easy polynomial, polynomial to factor. So, what multiplies to negative 2a squared and adds to negative a? I'm going to try negative 2a and a. So, negative 2a and a, that becomes negative a. So, negative 2a and a, 2a and negative a, x equals 2a comma negative a. Well, this is on the other side. So just cross out the negative 2a. I just x'd it out. So it's only 2a. So now we know when it's in between here. It's just a and 2a. So max equals 2a cubed because that's our highest point. Only when 1 is in between a and 2a. Well, what about make a in the middle? So I'm just gonna one second. A is okay, so a is less than 1 is less than 2a. So I split it in half. So now we need to get a in the middle. So a is less than 1, and then a is less than 1 over 2. So it's 1 over 2 is less than 1, which 1 over 2 is less than 1 over 2 is less than a, which is less than 1. Marco, that's a little annoying. Okay. So now last step, which is pretty easy because we figured out all the points, is just when it's 2a and all the way over there. So max equals, well, f of 1, but the positive version of it, because it's all the way here. And it's f of 1, the max, because this goes on forever, up higher and higher and higher. And 1 goes higher and higher too. So it's f of 1, but the positive version. Not this one, because this is the negative version. It's a different f of 1, which is the positive. So it's just 1 minus 3a squared. Only when 1 is greater than 2a. 2a is less